Hey, welcome back. We're here with another show. Anything that I say is not meant to diagnose you or replace your medical care. Check with your doc before implementing any of this information. And on that note, it is Steve's birthday today. Happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you,
Um,
sir.
and I'm sending you something that you've been really wanting for a long time. It's a new liver. So I'm going to be sending that in the mail today. So you'll have that, I think, by Monday.
Please
So this is
hurry.
exciting. I'll hurry up.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, well, one little admission, and this I've learned. This one little admission, I had a piece of birthday cake on my birthday that my daughter made me. However, what I've learned is you don't have to charge out and then eat chocolate for 3 months after that. You can stop, and it's taken me a while, but I'm intermittent fasting. I'll still intermittent fast today. That's not something to be proud of, but tomorrow I won't do it. So just for the audience sake, someone as undisciplined as I've been for the majority of my life, you can get into the routine of intermittent fasting, and you can enjoy the results so much that you're able to every once in a while, if you're out dinner, have some sort of confection, and to get back on a program that makes you feel fabulous. So that's what I'm
You
vowing.
know,
Anyway,
I'm going to be doing a video on that because I just found out there's a fascinating series of genes that I apparently have that will give you more of a tendency to not be as satisfied. So you'll once you start, you can't stop, which is me. So we'll have to check your genetics sometime, Steve, to see if you have that because if you don't know that, you'll automatically, well, I have low willpower, right? Well, maybe it's partly genetics that you then just need to avoid not starting, starting something because once you start, game over. And you're riding the blood sugar wave. So, anyway, I was like shocked to see that, oh, wow, I have those genes where I'm not satisfied easily. I have to keep going and I'll eat until I'm, completely stuffed.
well, hopefully I don't have that gene because I'm horribly irresponsible in many other areas of my life. So I can check that one off.
Okay. I was
Let's
trying to,
go. One of the
yeah.
problems I have is talking too much. So let's go straight to social media. Where Cadell from YouTube, how do I stop or reverse hypercholesteremia? I hope I said that. That is creating cholesterol deposits outside the dura part of my skull. Thank you. Do you get that?
Okay. So this is what I would do. There are certain, things that I would do to prevent that. I think I know what you're talking about. They do accumulate around your eye and their cholesterol deposits. I would there's the mode of getting rid of excess cholesterol is bile salts through the liver and the bile ducts and the gallbladder. So I would take Tudka as a good type of bile salt on an empty stomach. Just keep that going and see if that doesn't resolve it because it'll help break down cholesterol. It makes it so you don't develop this sludge that can back up into the tissues. Um, and maybe you have a genetic issue with cholesterol that you need to not go crazy by consuming very much. But I'm not ever recommending avoiding cholesterol, and especially if it's from healthy foods. What people don't realize is that a lot of the cholesterol comes from carbohydrates, sugar, starches. Your body will convert that to cholesterol. They don't know that. They think it's from the foods, but that's not true.
All right, very good. Let's go to Karen from Facebook. Please talk about the best way to reverse an inflamed colon.
Probably the best way is to focus on eating foods that don't cause inflammation. Let me give you a couple that do cause inflammation. Anything with gluten, okay? Like even if it says like vital wheat gluten, avoid it. Any type of grains, avoid that. Even grains in general will create inflammation in the gut. If you already have gut inflammation, you probably are going to be sensitive to a lot of different fiber. So I would do carnivore for a couple months, and that will reduce inflammation. Glutamine, which is actually in red meat and other proteins, is really good as a thing to help reduce inflammation in your gut. Um, and but when you do the carnivore, I would do the healthy version of it, do quality things, and mix it up between eggs and if you can do dairy, that'd be great, or shellfish and seafood and organ meats and bone broth, things like that. Um, versus just one type of lean protein without enough fat. So don't forget the omega-3 fatty acid type fats too from the fish. That would be really good to eat as well.
Very good. Hope that helps. TXN from YouTube, please share your advice on how to resolve gastritis. Help, he says.
Zinc carnosine, okay? And then make sure you do intermittent fasting to make sure that you don't overload the system. But zinc carnosine is going to help. There's a whole protocol I have I've done videos on that, but start taking zinc carnosine and that gastritis will start to come down. Also, H. pylori could be involved in that, and sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts can put that little guy back in remission.
Okay, one of our first respondents from Rumble way back when is Saydown10. He's back again. Wants to know what your thoughts are about consuming grass-fed non-GMO beef liver capsules to correct mineral and vitamin deficiencies. Is that anywhere near as good as the real thing?
It's definitely probably the second best thing you could do for sure because it's really nutrient dense and I think organ meats, healthy grass-fed liver, and other organ meats need to somehow be injected into our bodies, whether it's from a tablet or in food or a pate or even in sausage um, or other ways. But I can't, unfortunately, just eat liver, so I will get it. I like the cod liver. I can do that, and maybe mix it in with your burger. But it's something that I think would help a lot of people, especially kids, because you get virtually every nutrient from these organ meats.
All right, very good. Truth from YouTube said he had GERD for years, started doing apple cider vinegar and fasting. He's lost 140 pounds. That's fabulous. And just in this case, we'd like to thank you. So there you go, audience. If you follow this stuff, guess what? All right, Truth, thanks for checking in. Let's go to... let me delete him. Yvonne from YouTube. Is it okay to take Celtic salt on an empty stomach?
Totally fine. Not a problem.
Good. Shout out. Maureen from Facebook. Any chance that you could address ways to resolve rosacea? Thank you, she says Maureen.
That is a hidden gut problem, okay? And you got to fix the gut. So start taking a good probiotic and change the diet to support a good microbiome. I have a lot of videos on that. Fermented foods, you have to avoid any processed foods, especially the starches and the sugar, because that will feed the pathogenic microbes, including the yeast, fungus, and mold that tend to thrive on that. And your rosacea will clear up. I'll give you that in writing, and I'll give you a money back warranty.
Very good. And here comes first quick question of the day.
Okay, what percentage of a poor diet is responsible for chronic disease?
Well, I can only guess. How about Andrew from YouTube? Please, she's demanding you make a video about treating lichens. Lichen, did I say that way? Lichens? Lectins or something?
Lectins.
Anyway, and lichen sclerosis. No one seems to know how to treat it. I've been using cortisone, but wondering if there's a more natural approach. Thank you if I said that condition correctly.
So I think there's another name for what you're talking about. But anyway, I think let's say you have this skin problem, right? And you've tried all this stuff. I always default to higher doses of vitamin D3 with vitamin K2, magnesium. And then it's also important to take cod liver oil when you take vitamin D because it has the vitamin A. And vitamin A and vitamin D tend to work together with the receptors. So if you're very deficient in vitamin A, vitamin D might not work as well. But that would be great for your skin. And I think it'll get rid of a lot of weird skin issues, especially if you're doing 20, 30,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every day.
All right, very good. Our producer, Terry, gets so weary of my inability to speak English. It's lichens, he says. Lichens disease.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Terry.
that's a little different than lectins. Yeah. I would do the vitamin D. Yeah.
All right, very good. Let's go to Anne from YouTube. Share your thoughts on why oxalates, I said that right, and why they are so bad for us.
Because there is normally a microbe that is supposed to eat and regulate these oxalates. And since they're very sensitive to broad spectrum antibiotics, that gets wiped out. And now we have no microbes to eat it. So then we build up oxalates if we're having spinach, almonds, kiwi, chocolate, and a lot of other foods. So then what happens, it could potentially develop into a kidney stone. It could develop arthritic type stuff. But there's some data to show that if you take some more calcium or dairy, it'll bind with oxalates in the gut and not end up in your blood and the kidney. However, there's something even better than that, and that's taking magnesium on a regular basis, because magnesium will bind a lot better than calcium. And it also will prevent kidney stones, and it helps to keep this oxalates really low. But also, if you start to build up your microbiome with fermented foods and certain probiotics, you can hopefully bring back that, what's it called, oxalobacteria microbe that can then start eating up the oxalates. I actually I had to get it from Europe, the microbe, the probiotic that actually kind of reestablishes the gut to help with oxalates. I'm experimenting right now. I'll have to do a video on it. I'm actually experimenting also if I can grow that in yogurt. I still am investigating to see if it's possible. So I'll let you know.
Very good. The audience has an answer already, and the question asks, what percentage of a poor diet is responsible for chronic disease? And 100% of respondents say poor diets contribute to 75 to 100% of chronic illnesses. I think I said, yeah, they all said the same thing, 75 to 100% of chronic illnesses. The diet.
So if we take the average, okay, it's 90%. Now,
Wow.
just think about that for a second. 90%, right? When you were evaluating our health, it's important to know like the important stuff versus the trivial, right? I mean, you could spend your whole life on some trivial thing that's not going to really create an impact on your health. But if you focus on the lion in the room, which is the diet, and if the doctors would focus on that, literally we'd get somewhere. Right now, we have the worst health on the planet Earth. There's so many different outcomes is so bad, yet we spend the most money. And then some people say, well, the reason why we have the health problem is that people don't have access to medical care. Oh, so you can get more drugs, really? So the whole thing needs to be rebooted with this one additional thing that's behind chronic disease, which is junk food, okay? So we need to talk about that, evaluate that in the equation of health, and get that out of the diet. But the problem is there's some slight conflicts of interest in the dietary guidelines, in the food supply and government. And so, well, guess what? RFK is going to go on there and kind of clean that up with the help of you and myself, more awareness, letting people know, getting people off these foods, because it's going to be a very huge re-educational process, because we're so addicted and so brainwashed to the point where, I mean, even, I don't know how they ever came up with, now this is heart healthy. Is it really heart healthy?
Thank God.
Is this really heart healthy? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it is. And I think to put that label on that, and then you're indoctrinating people on, oh, wow, it's healthy. Okay, so I can eat more of it, when it's probably not healthy.
All right. Well, go America. I know we can do it. Marla from Facebook, would citrus bergamot help control cholesterol?
It's a really good thing for your arteries. It's for cholesterol. It's for inflammation. It's for insulin resistance. Yes, that's a good one. I like it. And it also will decrease your risk of certain types of clots. So that's really cool too, since 80% of all heart attacks and strokes are more clots, the clot related, versus the buildup of cholesterol, calcium, or plaquing. Interesting.
Okay, Yamaz from YouTube, what can I do to resolve OCD and constant intrusive thoughts? Those are awful.
This is, I think it's really diet related. I think you need to clean up your diet and get off all processed foods, take more natural B1 take trace minerals, and keep your carbs low, and give that about 3 to 4 weeks, and watch what happens to your ability to get rid of that disorder.
Okay, Crystal from YouTube, what are the best brands of calcium? Are there some supplements out there?
Well, I recommend, of course, mine because I'm not biased. But are we talking about calcium or magnesium?
She said calcium.
Calcium. I don't carry a calcium supplement, but I would recommend getting your calcium from food. Okay, food based cheese. Now, let's say, for example, you have osteoporosis and you want to take a calcium supplement. Um, the one that I would recommend is actual a grass fed bone extract, okay, that has the whole package. So you're taking those and you're not just getting calcium, you're getting the trace minerals, you're getting the collagen, you're getting the whole bowl of wax. And you just search a product that has a lot of good reviews, but bone extract, that's what I would do if I were you. That's how I would get my calcium.
All right, very good. DW from YouTube, I think this is neat. Please share some of your, meaning you, Dr. Berg, favorite healthy foods, the ones you enjoy the most and could eat every day if you had to. Thanks, from DW.
I think the number one healing food, and this is why I consume it almost every day, and because I feel better, and it's the thing that turned around my health, and that is red meat. And the type of red meat I have a lot of is hamburger, grass-fed hamburger. That's what I do. I know it sounds boring, but I'll put all sorts of stuff on it: bacon, cheese, raw cheese, of course, and a lot of onions. I do like yellow mustard, but I do a lot of that. Sauerkraut. Sometimes I'll do cod liver in a can. I'll do that as my protein and healthy omega-3 fatty acids. And I have salads. So I do salad with Parmesan. Now, the real Parmesanian, it's the Italian version of the Parmesan cheese. I'll shed that on there with my nutritional yeast powder with um, the high quality extra virgin olive oil from Italy with balsamic vinaigrette. So I do that a lot as my standard thing. It might sound boring, and then I'll have my cultured dairy that I did a video on with the Alruderai yogurt. I'll do some of that. Um, so I do that on a regular basis. But sometimes I'll do shrimp. I'll do fish. I might do pork sausage. I'll do eggs. But that's what I consume on a regular basis, and it seems to hit the spot, Steve.
All right, well, you just shattered the idea that you had some problem in discipline. That is quite a regime. And
There's
you
no
look at,
discipline with that. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's pleasurable. I can do it every single day for the rest of my life.
yeah, well, Dr. Berg and his lovely wife, Karen, look like Ken and Barbie, so that stuff must be working. Yarka from YouTube, I have pain in the right side of my body, and it moves up and down at times. I have anemia, low iron, celiac disease, and osteopenia, excuse me. Are they all related to this pain, and how do I leave in it? Boy, I'm sorry, suffering from so many things.
Now, is it up and down the spine, she said, or is it on the right or left side?
Let's see, it's in the right side of my body, and it moves up and down at times.
I will pretty much guarantee it's related to your bile ducts, between the little tube between your liver and the gallbladder. And there's probably sludge in there. So I think something like Tudka, 2 on an empty stomach in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, empty stomach, and that'll start to thin the bile. And your right side of your body will start feeling better. I think you need to reevaluate what you're eating. There's just sounds like there's more inflammation than you should have, and that relates to a lot of other issues. So I'd start with that, and then see what's left. When you try to dissect or fix that complex problem, I like to take the low hanging fruit problems, like the pain part, and okay, let's get rid of that, and then let's address something else, and then something else, and then see if that works, rather than try a million things at once. Um, Vitamins don't usually work unless you fix your diet first. So I would definitely follow my protocol. I have videos on what I recommend eating and then go from there. But I think Tucka will get you out of trouble real fast.
All right. Well, Varka, I hope that helps. And in addition to Varka, we'd like to say a good day to all of our viewers joining us at this special time from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Jordan, Brazil, Germany, Taiwan, Indonesia, Spain, American Samoa, Malaysia, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Japan, St. Lucia, Egypt, Poland, Sweden, the Virgin Islands, the Dominican Republic, Brunei, Denmark, Hong Kong, Australia, the Netherlands, South Africa, Bermuda, France, Ireland, Ghana, Chile, Botswana, Eritrea, Albania, New Zealand, Switzerland, Italy, Scotland, Ukraine, Iran, Colombia, and all across these United States of America. So thanks everybody for listening. Let's go over to Granbo 57 from Rumble. Can we really clean our arteries? If so, what's the best way to do it?
You have to change first what's contributing to the damage, which is going to be inflammation. So, make sure you get out all the starches and sugars and the seed oils out of the diet immediately. Okay. And then one of the most powerful compounds that can help the inner lining of the arteries would be vitamin D with K2 and magnesium. The omega-3s, of course, would be necessary from cod liver oil. And you start taking that, and that'll start to help you greatly. And then there's a lot of other things you can add. And I'm going to be releasing a video on this problem very soon. But the number one thing that messes with your arteries and your heart is insulin resistance. So you're going to have to fix that. And that is really reducing the carbs and eating healthier calories. The problem that I think most people are running into is we've been indoctrinated that animal fats are bad, especially for the heart. Instead, have these unsaturated vegetable oils. That has totally destroyed our hearts. So we want to go back to what we did in the 50s when we didn't have nearly this problem. I'm not talking about adding more smoking, because they smoked in the 50s more than they do now, but they didn't snack as frequently. They didn't eat as much junk food. They ate more whole foods. They weren't afraid of saturated fats or butter, or even they had a garden. So these are all things that I would start with to help turn things around.
Okay, very good. We've got a lovely lady named Laura from Ventura County in California. We're going to get to you, Laura, right after this exciting question. There you go, Doc. Number 2.
Okay, true or false? You can get enough iodine from sea salt.
Oh, that was simple. Okay, and let's see what we can get from Laura. Go ahead with your one question, 30 seconds for Dr. Berg.
Hey, Dr. Berg, I wanted to ask you about intermittent fasting and its effects on SIBO.
Yeah, I mean, think about what SIBO is. It's microbes in the wrong place. They should be in the large intestine. They're in the small intestine. And so how do you get them out of there? Well, first of all, the problem with SIBO is when you eat food, those microbes that are in the wrong place start stealing the calories. They start ripping off your nutrition. And so they leave you deficient, and you're going to be bloating. So one of the best things to do is to not feed them so often. So we want to do fasting. And that way, we naturally have this kind of a cleaning, cleansing thing that when we don't eat, it'll allow things to go through this 25-foot tube from our mouth to the bottom part. And so I think the frequency of eating it never gives a chance for that SIBO to correct. Dr. William Davis has a great book on supergut, and he recommends something called L-reuteri with a couple other microbes that you can start to consume, because that microbe is interesting. It actually is it's called a keystone microbe, which means it affects other microbes, and it creates almost like a natural antibiotic in your small intestine to get rid of these microbes. And plus, L-reuteri is one of the microbes that can live in the small intestine. So, and then what happens is that you do that for a period of time, and then also, if you on an empty stomach take something like a purified bile salt, that normally is supposed to be it's like a detergent for microbes, and it's supposed to keep that small intestine cleared out. So when someone has a lack of bile, they can also develop SIBO. So that's really important to have the gallbladder working. But I would do those things, and that's the way to clear it up. But you can there's a great also a device to measure certain gases that are produced by the microbes just by breathing in there to see how much SIBO you have and then when it goes away. But yeah, Dr. Davis Williams um, is the best. Now it's Dr. William Davis is the best source for the SIBO.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for an interesting question, Laura. Appreciate it. And let's move on to Marna from YouTube. My physician has prescribed that I take 1.25 milligrams of vitamin D daily. Is that enough, in your opinion? What's the difference between D2 and D3? Also, take iron and vitamin C supplements. So there's a whole basket full of little questions.
I don't like taking iron. There's a lot of data on that. You should watch my videos. It could be like you might just need copper to help iron to be less dysfunctional. But then the first question is vitamin D, how much you should take. I've done a lot of deep dive into this. There's actually 2 systems of vitamin D, and most people only know about one system, the endocrine system, which really you only need like 600 IUs of vitamin D3, okay, to support your bones and calcium. What they don't know is there's this other system called the autocrine system, which basically means that you don't need the kidney and the liver to convert this vitamin D into the active form. And instead, the cells just basically take it and convert it through the cell. And so the thing that you need to know about that is to feed the immune system and all the other functions that are non-calcium, non-bone. You need as a maintenance 10,000 IUs. Now, this is new information for a lot of people. So all I'm saying is before you reject it, look at my sources, look at my videos, and you'll find out it's actually true. And there's a lot of data on this, and it'll explain everything. That type of the half-life on that vitamin D that's needed for that system is 24 hours, which means that if you're only taking vitamin D once a week, you're going to be deficient. So ideally, one way to know that you're someone in a safe range is if you check your blood levels. And of course, they're just checking the inactive. So you're getting kind of an idea of what it is, but you need it definitely between above 50 at least. Okay. 50 nanograms per milliliter. So that would be important. If it's below 20, I don't think that's a good thing. So anyway, and then don't forget the associated cofactors to help you metabolize vitamin D, like magnesium and vitamin K2 and vitamin A from cod liver oil. Vitamin D3 is the best. Vitamin D2 is not as stable and it's not as potent. And so the natural D3 is what I recommend from sheep's wool if you're taking a supplement. But ultimately, the best vitamin D comes from the sun. Okay, and then you get the conversion. But the problem is it's winter right now. And some people but if you're getting enough sun, then you don't need to take vitamin D. But there also is a therapeutic dosage of vitamin D that if you have a certain problem, autoimmune disease, let's say a tumor or a fibroid, a glaucoma, then you're going to need to get your blood levels up there, like 80, 90, 100, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, can you help us convert 1.25 milligrams of vitamin D? What does that equal?
I think so a quarter of 1 milligram is 10,000 IUs. Okay.
Oh, okay.
A quarter of 1 milligram.
So that's 5,000.
So I guess maybe a quarter of a milligram. Oh, 0.25 of 1 milligram is 10,000. So I guess 1 milligram is 40,000 IUs of vitamin D3, right? I mean,
40,
my math is correct. So just do the math on that, do the conversions. But, another thing that I think is really important is to always get your blood levels tested with vitamin D before you go into a surgery, because you can have much better outcomes if you keep your vitamin D higher going into the surgery for anything: bariatric surgery, cosmetic surgery, orthopedic surgery, any transplant, organ transplants. Um, and and then also, what's even more important is pregnancy. If you're pregnant, boy, you better make sure your vitamin D is high enough, because um, you can prevent a lot of problems if that mother has enough vitamin D, especially when she's breastfeeding.
Wow, does so many things. Angeline from Facebook, what are your thoughts about taking oil of oregano? What are the benefits?
But it's a really great natural antimicrobial. So it's really good for um, anything that you want to, any type of pathogen you want to get rid of. Oregano oil is awesome. You can also use thyme. That's another good one. Sage, garlic, onion. Awesome.
Great. Okay, Romatu from YouTube. I'm having chronic neck and shoulder pain. MRI and CAT scans have been clean or negative. What is your suggestion to relieve these sort of phantom pains you can't figure out? And he thanks you.
I really think it's referred from your phrenic nerve, which comes from the bile ducts or the liver or the gallbladder. So again, the TUDCA, what you can do, just take your hands, press underneath your right rib cage, and find the knot and start massaging that for 2 minutes. And you may find that all of your neck pain goes away. And you're like, what just happened there? I had that problem for 12 years. I didn't know what it was, but a lot of digestive, gallbladder, and bile duct problems that refer up to your neck and shoulders. So that's something that you're not going to necessarily find on Google search, but you'll find it from me, because I was in practice for 30 years and I've stumbled on it a lot.
All right. Well, the audience stumbled on the answer to this question. It was a true falser. Can you get enough iodine from sea salt? And 70% of the respondents say it's false. You can't get enough. 30% say, yeah, it's just fine.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. Iodine you're not going to get enough iodine in sea salt. So it's either going to be iodized sea salt or shellfish, or seafood, or even sea kelp. But iodine, if you're low in iodine, your IQ is going to be a little lower, even as at any age. It's going to affect your cognitive function, but especially if you're more vulnerable, like when you're, in your mom being developed. That's important. Also, between like being born and age 2, that's another crucial time to have enough iodine, or else you end up with an IQ that's about 15 points lower, which is not a great thing, because you kind of want to have this high IQ as you can. Steve, what's really interesting about this IQ, I tried to look at what the IQ has been from 1950 to now, and you can't really find that information out, because what they do is they keep taking the average IQ, which is 100, and they keep adjusting it. And the way the questions are calculated and interpreted, it's different. It's not standard. So basically, if you take your IQ test now, we're comparing you to the average. We're not necessarily comparing you to people of 1950. So I personally think it's gone down from very many reasons, because our school system plus the iodine deficiency. So if you want to boost your IQ, Steve, just have some more iodine in your diet.
Well, that's funny. Terry, our producer, urged me to take some immediately. Thanks, Terry. Okay, let's go straight to quiz question number 3, and there it is.
Okay, true or false? Belly fat releases over 500 inflammatory hormones.
Is that true or false, audience?
No, 550. I'm not 550.
Okay, 550. Is that right? Let me look at it once more. Let me just bring it up there once more, so we have no doubt. Over 50.
Over 50 inflammatory hormones.
Okay, very good, audience. Climb on that. Let's go straight back to social media with Gabriel from Facebook. What are the... never mind, we already did that. Eric from Rumble, what is NMN, as in Nancy, and how is it beneficial for us? Nicotinamide or mononucleotide?
It's a version of vitamin B3, niacin. They have other ones, NAD plus, and there's different supplements related to derivatives of niacin, which are they're all just more expensive. I don't think you need them. You just need to take niacin. Niacin is like the inexpensive version, but then it'll if you have it in higher amounts, it's like it's going to give you the same effect of building up this thing called NAD in your mitochondria, which basically allows you to potentially be healthier and live longer because it's a key thing that allows you to extract electrons from the food and turn that into ATP. And so, I mean, that's just one thing it does. It does a lot. But as we age, it goes down. And so the whole goal is to raise it up. And there's a lot more to talk about that because it's more of a biochemical thing. But all you need to know is like B3 niacin will give you virtually the same effect, and it's less expensive.
All right, very good. Gabrielle, I'm sorry we didn't ask your question, and you're from Facebook. What are the benefits of adding MCT oil to our daily supplements?
I think it's good to take when you're starting keto because it allows your brain to have extra ketones immediately, which will improve your cognitive function and things like that. And it's also good if you're exercising and you want more ketones for your brain and your body. And then also if you have any type of dementia, cognitive problems, you have to realize that like the fuel for the brain is either glucose or ketones. And in the presence of both of those, it'll take the ketones over glucose. So you can actually, a lot of people have damage in the brain from high levels of carbs over the years. So one way to bypass all that and give the neurons fuel is to give it ketones from MCT oil.
All right. Thelma from Facebook, what can I do for parathyroid issues?
The parathyroid is kind of like a surrogate for vitamin D. So let's say, for example, your vitamin D is low, the parathyroid hormone goes up, and it's going to go into your bone and take calcium because it regulates calcium. So why do we need calcium? Not just for your bones, but we use calcium for all the communications from the cells. So it's like a really important thing to make sure that calcium is always correct as far as in the blood. And so the parathyroid will, depending on the vitamin D, either mobilize this stored calcium from your bone or not. Typically, vitamin D is supposed to help you absorb calcium from the gut, and then that way we don't have to take calcium from the bone. But if it's low, then it has to mobilize it from the bone. And so this is why when you take a parathyroid test, if it's high, that means you're potentially could be losing calcium from the bone. If it's low because you're taking vitamin D3, then I like that better because now chances are the vitamin D is working in the cells and everything is cool.
All right, very good. Just like we did with Laura, Joe, we're going to come to you after we ask this question. And this question is for you too, Joe. Go ahead, Doc.
True or false, belly fat releases over 550 inflammatory hormones. And Steve, what was the answer on that?
Let's see. 100% of our respondents say it's true.
It is true. There's a lot of different inflammatory compounds. I should have said compounds instead of hormones, but there's a lot of inflammation being produced when you have belly fat that's called visceral fat, and that creates an inflamed fat, which could be one reason why people can't get rid of it very easily because the body's like holding on to it, and it's part of a healing process. But there's a lot of problems with this visceral fat, and this is why I'm going to do a video on how to get rid of it. So what foods to avoid, because I mean, take a look around, Steve. Do you ever see anyone with a belly? That means they have visceral fat.
Interesting.
Okay.
All right, very good. Why don't we go to, and I don't know if he has any visceral fat, but looks like a nice fellow. Let's go to, let me get your audio on there, Joe. Go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg, please.
Hey, Dr. Berg. My
Hello.
question today is, can you please share what you would recommend to put ulcerative colitis in long-term remission from supplements, vitamins, diet, lifestyle, etc.?
Yeah. Anytime you have an inflammatory state in your gut, I think this is the time where I would do carnivore because you're going to eliminate a lot of things that could be aggravating and creating inflammation. And out of all the things that won't create inflammation, it's going to be the animal proteins. So if you did carnivore for a few months, and what it'll do is you'll start feeling better, the inflammation will come down. Now, some people then transition off that to meat, and then another vegetable that's higher in glutamine, which is good for the gut, which is sauerkraut and cabbage. Cabbage seems to be higher in glutamine, which is good for the gut. The other thing that I would highly recommend is doing intermittent fasting because you're going to give it a chance for the gut to heal. Um, that's the simple version. But also, zinc is important. Vitamin D is important to heal the gut. But definitely going to have to avoid gluten, any grains, any seed oils. These are all things that will just keep your gut inflamed all the time. It would be helpful too to get a good DNA test. I'm going to be doing a video on that because I just found another company that I really like that it's reasonably priced. It's a one-time thing, and they look at the genes um, through the pathways, not just individual genes, and that will give you a lot of insights on potentially what's causing this problem because you might have weak links with different things creating inflammation. And you can rule out, is it really a food related inflammatory thing? Or maybe it's just like, wow, I have these genes for DNA, vitamin D that are so mutated that I'm not getting any vitamin D at all, that's why you're inflamed. But I like that test. It's simple, it's inexpensive, it's quick, but you don't even need to test your blood. Just check the inside of your mouth and send that in. But yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Thank you, Dr. Berg.
You're welcome. And the type of zinc would be zinc carnosine would be the best zinc for the colon if you're going to take that. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for a great question, Joe and Laura today, our two guests. All right, let's go to quiz question number 4 for the day. And hang out there, Joe. We want your answer too. And there it is.
Okay. Where is our greatest source of plastic coming from, which ends up accumulating in our brains?
That's scary. All right, let's move on to social media. Karen, is it possible, she's from Facebook, to absorb iodine through our skin?
It'll absorb. I don't know if it will handle your deficiencies, but some of it will absorb, especially if it's like topically, if you're trying to maybe handle a skin tag or a wart or something like that. And I don't really, let's say, for example, you have a fibrocystic breast or you have a cyst on the ovaries, which, by the way, is definitely an iodine problem because iodine will actually help you regulate that excess estrogen and get rid of those two things. And I don't know, maybe you could try it topically, maybe it'll work, but I would also take it orally as well.
All right, very good. Ida M from YouTube, what can you recommend as a substitute for using lemon juice and apple cider vinegar to maintain proper acidity, in the stomach?
Betaine hydrochloride is another great natural remedy to take right before the meals to help acidify the stomach. Betaine hydrochloride.
All right, and here's a good question from Melanie from Facebook, once again being very intrusive to you, Dr. Berg. What do you do in a normal workout, and how often do you work out?
So here's another benefit of the that genetic testing that I'm gonna talk about in future videos, but it'll tell you what type of workouts that your genes have more of a propensity to or a better response to. And for me, it's power, high intensity power exercises. So someone might have endurance, but for me, it's more short, high powered intensity things. So what I do every second or third day is I flip a tire up a hill. Okay, I'll do that. I'll have a pull down rope thing. I like to do pull down ropes like I'm climbing. I do a lot of stretching, myofascial stretching. I've done videos on that because I have a lot of history of injuries. I will do running up hills, sprinting up hills. I like that. A lot of hiking, things like that. I do general type of weights, different type of weights right now. But I think that it really depends on your makeup, and stay tuned for more videos on that, because I also like to switch up my workouts. And I have this in the summertime, I'll take this, it's like a tank that with wheels, and you push it up a hill. I like that. It's high intensity, it's cardio, it's full body resistance. My body thrives on that. I also like cutting wood with an axe. In fact, if my body had a choice, it would be a lumberjack. My body thrives on that. It just feels so good when I chop a tree down.
Wow.
With an axe.
All right, good for you. Brenda from Facebook, which supplements would help a 13-year-old girl with very low levels of ferritin? She is already on an iron-rich diet. Could this be an iron absorption issue? If so, what's next for her daughter?
I think low ferritin is a really good thing, okay? Low ferritin is good because that's the storage form of calcium in the tissues, and we don't want high ferritin. I think I would get someone that's really knowledgeable about iron, and watch my recent video on iron, because I recommend a certain author that recommends doing more copper to help regulate iron. And there must be a series of practitioners that you can work with that look at the whole profile of iron, because you can't just automatically look at iron and go, oh yeah, I'm just going to give you iron. You got to be careful, because iron is something that is really hard to get rid of once you have it. There's not a lot of mechanisms unless you're menstruating, and then you need iron. But there's a lot of people with iron problems, either too much or not enough, have dysfunctional iron, which means they need more copper to fix it. And so that's my whole point.
All right, good luck with that. We hope your daughter grows up strong and all those things. Let's go to quiz question number 4, which asks, where is our greatest source of plastics coming from and ending up in our brains? That's a terrible thing. 55% of respondents say it's the water supply, 25% say food and beverage packaging, 10% say food additives like emulsifiers, and the final 10% say sea salt.
So I'm doing a video on this, and you're all correct, but it's really important because, yes, we're accumulating more and more plastic over time. And most of it, the big source is the water supply. So you really need to get a really good filter to filter out those nano small particles. I would never, ever heat any food up in the microwave in plastic, okay? I wouldn't use Teflon either. I would start to look at all the things that you're doing now. And I give a list in this video of exposure to plastics. Why am I even talking about this? Because they're finding that an average person has up to 7 grams of plastic in their brain, which I think is going to cause dementia, because they're finding people with dementia have more plastic than people that don't. So these are chemicals that the body potentially can get rid of over time if you sleep really good, but not if you keep exposing yourself to this plastic. So you start to look at, how am I being exposed to it? Okay, the water, okay, the microwave, but also other ways too. Like you're brushing your teeth with this toothbrush with plastic, or like there's other types of toothbrushes that are non-plastic, non-chemical. The water bottles, like there's just a lot of stuff, unfortunately, we have to put attention on now. I have a list of that. I mean, think about baby bottles. Like you're giving your baby this in this bottle that you warm it up in the microwave, and then you have they have the pacifier with plastic. I mean, you should probably just do 100% rubber. That would be a little bit better. So there's all these things that we have to now worry about because of the darn plastic stuff. And then the plastic companies, they have this scam going on. If you look at the bottom of any plastic bottle, they'll have this symbol, recycling. It's not the recycling symbol. it's called it's a resin identification number from 1 to 7, which is not recycling. It's just a whole different thing that looks like a recycling. Only a tiny bit of this plastic is recycled. And, it makes you feel good, like, oh yeah, we're recycling this plastic. It's good for the environment. It's going in the landfill. So we need to start doing something about that, because it's a problem. Just like, other chemicals. So yeah.
Yeah, thus for progress. Anyway, audience, we came on at 2 o'clock on the East Coast of the United States today, but we're going back to 11 as usual next week. So thanks for sticking with us on this one, and look forward to our show same place, same time next week. And here's the final quiz question of the day, Doc.
Why do the recommended dietary guidelines still recommend 3 servings of refined grain starch per day?
Okay, last time for your thinking caps, folks. Let's see. Tasha, what are your thoughts about cooking with cast iron skillets? I hope they're good. I hope it's good.
It brings us back to the iron thing. Since our bodies don't have any way of getting rid of iron, probably not the best idea to cook with iron skillets. I'm sorry, you probably have one. We have one. I don't recommend cooking it. I don't eat food from it. You want to cook with stainless steel or ceramic, glass. Find something that doesn't have any chemicals in it. There's something called forever chemicals, which are called PFAS chemicals. And I'm testing our water and it came out 0 because I have a spring water, but it's important to be aware of that. And then also start to look at the items, like even in the dishwasher, right? You have these little plastic little things that so-called dissolve, and you're putting them in the dishwasher to clean your dishwasher. You want to make sure it doesn't have forever chemicals in there. So cutting boards, again, that's the plastic, but there's also it's called forever chemicals with a, half-life of 1,000 years. So unfortunately, we're bathing and swimming in a sea of chemicals. Well, that's why we have the EPA to help protect us. So I'm excited about that they're going to protect us, or at least RFK is going to do something about getting rid of the corruption. I think even in the EPA, they even have an office for some chemical companies. On the subcommittee membership list in the EPA for endocrine disruptors, like they have the industries that actually produce these chemicals on the panel, the subcommittee, that I'm like, wait a second, what is wrong with this picture? So again, conflicts of interest. So again, this is going to have to be the next phase of cleaning that up so we can actually, trust our agencies.
Yep. Terrible thought. 70% of what we eat in this country is banned in Europe. So that should give you some food for thought. So we have a different.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America.
Yeah.
Beautiful place, though, but we've got our issues. Starving myself to life is the name of this person's handle from YouTube. Could my low ketone measurements be a result of my body using them efficiently rather than having low production? What's more likely? That's an interesting question.
Well, if you're talking about your urine ketones, yes, for sure, because the urine, at first when you do keto, you're going to be releasing and wasting ketones to the urine, but then your body will start using them and it'll be less efficient. It'll be less than the urine. But in the blood, my viewpoint is that if you have, it does measure how many ketones are going through your blood, and that's telling you how deep that you are in ketosis. And you probably get to a certain level between like 1 and 3 if you're just doing the diet, low carb. But then if you add fasting and then exercise on top of that, you can get up to 4, 5, maybe 6. So you can get deeper into ketosis.
All right, very good. Let's go to Mary Moore from YouTube. What's the best way to reduce cellulite in the upper legs, especially if you're unable to exercise your legs very much? Any remedy for that, Doc?
So most of weight loss benefits will occur from diet. Exercise is about 15%, but a lot of the cellulite, especially as women get older, I'm telling you, it's not all fat. It's atrophy. It's atrophy. It looks just like cellulite. So if you were to do, you can even do, any type of exercise like weight training or isometrics or plyometrics, where you're hopping on something or you're actually building up those muscles. You may find that your cellulite is just atrophy and you have a better muscle profile. Now, the L-reuteri is another little icing on the cake that can help increase more body composition, more muscle versus fat. That's something I did a video on that. And also women, as they get older, a lot of their estrogen comes from testosterone. And here they are doing estrogen replacement when they really need maybe more testosterone. And I'm not recommending getting that replacement. I would recommend eliminating the plastics, doing what you can to build up your own testosterone from zinc and other things. But some women, they do all that and they still can't seem to improve that. So at that point, maybe they do testosterone pellets. If they're finding that they've done everything else and they just can't seem to get the inflammation down, because testosterone helps decrease inflammation, and also they can't create more muscles, then maybe it's an option to look at. There's bioidentical pellets that seem to be pretty safe and pretty interesting.
Okay, we're going to answer our last question, quiz question number 5. But first, I'm worried about tans from YouTube. How serious is it not having the ability to sweat? I haven't sweated in the last 2 years, even during high temperatures and even during an hour-long cycling session. What could I be doing if sweating is essentially, so essential to my overall health? Ever heard of that?
I think what I would do is I would find a test. It's called heart rate variability, and look at what's happening with your sympathetic nervous system. Is it too low? And if it is, start working on that. And I have videos on how to improve that. Vitamin B1 is important. Magnesium is important to try to balance your body out. Sometimes when your sympathetic nervous system is too low, you can't sweat. If it's too high, you sweat too much. So those are all factors. But yeah, there's a condition of, people can't sweat. And there's a reason for that. So I've never done a video on that, but I know it's related to the autonomic nervous system.
All right. I hope you get help with that. Hope it doesn't hurt you. Okay, let's go to our final quiz question of the day, which asks, why do the recommended dietary guidelines still recommend 3 servings of refined grain starch per day? Our audience has an opinion on that, where 74% say it's because of efforts of the food or farm lobbyists, 16% say because it's a basic food filler, and 10% say the recommendations are outdated.
This is a fascinating answer. Okay. Are you sitting down, Steve, for this?
Let me sit down. All
okay.
right.
So they actually said in the dietary guidelines, the justification of adding 3 servings of refined starch grain, that's like really bad, that's ultra processed starch, is because it's fortified with synthetic vitamins. And if we didn't add that, our dietary plan would be very deficient in nutrients. So in other words, we're going to use the junk food refined fillers that cause chronic disease as a transport system to give us a couple synthetic vitamins. Are you kidding me? So honestly, that's the most ridiculous thing. That is one thing that has to go away. I mean, it's one thing eating those, but it's another having the USDA recommend those things. It's ridiculous. Like, why the heck is even recommended? It's like stupid. It's like completely insane, since 90% of chronic disease comes from ultra processed food calories, and then they're recommending it. I mean, it's just, of course, in 1993, that's when this food pyramid was developed, as far as the foundation being 65% grains. In 1950, it wasn't nearly that much. And so what's happened is we've we've developed a food pyramid it's almost identical to the feedlot pyramid, and it's fattening us up. And it's got to change. It's going to change. Hopefully, there's going to be a new pyramid coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week at an earlier time at 11 o'clock Eastern a.m. Standard Time next Friday.